Would you agree, Mr. Secretary, that the United States should use every tool it has at its disposal, including additional sanctions, to pressure Russia to come to the table to negotiate a just and lasting peace for the war in Ukraine?
Senator, every tool at our disposal? No. We have a lot of tools in a lot of places.
Let me be more narrow. Let me be more narrow then.
Apply.
You said, and I'll take some exception to this, that our European allies cannot freeload off the United States in perpetuity. My impression is that Article 5 of the NATO treaty was only invoked once. It was after 9/11. And a significant number of our European allies and partners deployed to Afghanistan alongside us and suffered significant combat casualties. In the first 2 years of the war in Ukraine, a war of Russian aggression, 50 other countries stepped forward, deployed military support, delivered materiel, provided financial and operating support, and at regular meetings of the Defense Contact Group, your predecessor led that process of deploying military assistance. What message do you think it sends? That as Ukraine continues to suffer day after day of punishing attacks on civilian centers, we're not using the $3.8 billion in presidential drawdown authority that remains to send additional air defense and interceptors, and you yourself chose to not attend.
It is difficult to say which of Donald Trump's cabinet secretaries is worst at their job, but it seems like Pete Hegseth is really making a run at that title recently, because not only did he humiliate himself before the House yesterday, but when he appeared before the Senate today, he didn't just scream, he didn't just lie, he did all of those things while imploding after being confronted over not only Donald Trump's new demands for loyalty in the military, but the crimes he is committing in LA and the crimes he is covering up in the form of Donald Trump's jet from Qatar. We're going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way in supporting the work that we're doing on this channel. Now, we have a lot of Pete Hegseth lies and crimes to get into that he was confronted with. But first, I want to start with this question about Donald Trump's new demands for loyalty in the military.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Hegseth, you oversee one of the largest and most important organizations on planet Earth. More than anything, the Department of Defense needs stable, competent, and strategic leadership. And much as I had feared back in January, it is not what we are seeing under your leadership. In a matter of months, you have lost top aides and reportedly struggled to hire new ones. You have fired highly respected top military officials. You shared highly sensitive attack plans over Signal and apparently with people in your own personal circles, and you've not taken responsibility for those mistakes. All the while, the security challenges we face have grown larger, not smaller. And then in the face of these challenges, you've taken a series of actions that weaken our posture. For example, in my home state of Washington, which is home to many DoD installations critical to our Indo-Pacific strategy, you have pushed out almost 2,000 highly trained civilian employees, including at Puget Sound Naval Shipyard. Mr. Secretary, you talk about returning the department to its mission of warfighting, but I am repeatedly hearing that your policy and personnel changes at the Pentagon are undermining, not strengthening our military's preparedness to protect our country. You are deploying the American military to police the American people. You're sending the National Guard into California without the governor's request. Sending the Marines not after foreign threats, but after American protesters. And now President Trump is promising heavy force against peaceful protesters at his D.C. military parade. Those sorts of actions and that sort of rhetoric from a president of the United States should stop every one of us cold. Threatening to use our own troops on our own citizens at such scale is unprecedented, it is unconstitutional, and it is downright un-American. We should all be speaking out against this and demanding accountability. Civilian employees who are badly needed, and all of them also have hundreds and in some cases thousands of new hires ready to bring on board. but now have to individually be reviewed by OPM, apparently to ensure that they support the President's priorities. Secretary Hegseth, I want to know, and keep your answer short, I have limited time, will you be firing more shipbuilders, yes or no?
Senator, we haven't fired shipbuilders. We've offered through a right sizing of our civilian positions, which
So
everyone in this committee would acknowledge that the Defense Department has had a bloated
Mr. Secretary,
bureaucracy for a long time, have given a
will not be-
voluntary process by which some people
we all
can
know
choose to
the
take
process.
a DRP.
I'm just asking you
So
a
it's not a
question.
firing of shipbuilders.
Okay, so
That's a
you're-
totally disingenuous characterization of what our
Let me
department is
just ask
doing. We
you,
are focusing on shipbuilding.
Mr.
ma'am.
Secretary, do we need more or fewer shipbuilders?
We are investing historically in our shipbuilding defense industrial base and workforce and ships in this budget, more than anything the previous administration ever
Okay.
did.
So, well, you managed to fire highly skilled workers, including my home state of Washington, for no reason. So let me just say, the Navy needs welders, not people who can recite a president's executive orders. If the Navy wants to hire a qualified candidate for the role, but that candidate happened to vote for or donate to Democrats, would they be hired?
Senator, there's never been a litmus test for hiring welders.
Well,
If you can
that
weld,
is what
you can
the
work
new-
at the Defense Department.
That is what they're being asked. And Mr. Secretary, I just have to say, we need to drop the politics in our military. We need to hire the best people. We do not need to force them out. That is simply the case at this point. Now I'm out of time. Thank you, Mr.
After what we saw at Fort Bragg yesterday, with service members cheering on Trump as he attacked Gavin Newsom, as he attacked Mayor Bass, as he attacked the entire state of California while he sends Marines to attack peaceful protesters, it is incredibly obvious why forcing news service members to sign a pledge of loyalty to Donald Trump, to investigate their political history, to attack them, and to make them fear to intimidate them if they want to express any political opinion that's not the full support of a cult leader. That is terrifying. And Pete Hegseth is unable to answer for why that should be the case, except for the fact that he is in the cult of Trump as well. And that's clear with his loyalty to him and aiding his attack on LA, which he was called out for, lied about, and got caught in that lie right here.
The higher your standards
How
are,
much-
it all makes you more lethal.
So you're-
And the mission in Los Angeles, as you know well, sir, is not about lethality. It's about maintaining law and order on behalf of law enforcement agents who deserve to do their job
Excuse me.
without being attacked by mobs of people. And so
Law-
we're very proud that the National Guard and the Marines are on the streets defending the ICE agents, and they will continue to
Law
do that.
and
They're doing a
order
great
is
job.
a civil function under the Constitution of the United States. Civil enforcement, law enforcement authorities, not the U.S. military. And
There's plenty of precedent for the U.S. military supporting law enforcement officers.
What your military is doing right now is laying concertina wire, guarding buildings, maintaining vehicles for other services. This is not only, I think, illegal, but also a diminution of the readiness and the focus of the military. But let me change course.
What is happening in LA right now is criminal, but that is what we have come to expect from Donald Trump's administration. And that line of questioning from Senator Reid did not stop there in terms of calling out the criminality of Donald Trump, because he went on to press Pete Hegseth about Trump's Qatari jet. And guess what? Pete said just about nothing, because he's afraid and he's trying to hide.
Understanding that you have taken possession of this Qatari aircraft, the 747. But there are public reports that the Qataris have not yet signed a memorandum of understanding, which would specify that the agreement was initiated by the Trump administration and Qatar is not responsible for any future transfers of the plane's ownership. Are you in possession of the Qatari airplane now?
Any specifics about future aircraft that could be Air Force One can't be discussed here, but
Sure, it can be
there is
discussed
a
here. Are you
conversation
in
about a
possession-
memorandum of understanding. A memorandum of understanding remains to be signed, Senator.
You have signed a contract with a company to reconfigure the aircraft. What is the price of that contract?
that cannot be revealed in this setting. So
Why can't it be revealed in this session? Well, this is the Appropriations Committee of the United States Senate. We appropriate the money that you will spend after it's authorized by my committee. And you cannot tell us how much the contract is for?
you will have that number, Senator. It just can't be talked
you
about
want
in
it
a
now.
public
It's
realm.
been the contract has been signed, correct? The contract has been signed?
The memorandum of understanding is not
No, I'm
complete, and
I'm
therefore
talking about
it's
the
not
contract with the American contractor. Has it been signed?
It's nothing on that front that I'm aware of is being executed.
Well, that's contrary to what we've all heard. Second thing, what's the delivery time in the contract?
Again, the delivery time of anything of that sensitive nature is not for public consumption.
Can you tell me the delivery time for the Boeing aircraft that were being prepared for Air Force One? Was that in the contract?
One of the problems is that the way we actually procure aircraft in this country takes so long.
Oh,
that
yeah.
When it's ordered, it's 7, 8, 9, 10 years late, requiring the necessity for a stopgap alternative.
Well, no. What you've just said is that the Boeing information was public knowledge. The delivery date, the cost overruns, but this is not. Because this is not only a bad deal for the American public, it is just it's gratifying the president's ego. That's all it is. Thank you.
They know what they're doing is wrong. Of course they do. They know that it is blatant corruption. They're trying to do it out in the open, but they don't want to give us any specifics. I wonder why. This is incredibly gross and just shows how incompetent Pete Hegseth is. And that's very purposeful, that Pete Hegseth does not know what he's doing, because Donald Trump wants to usurp his power. Donald Trump wants to control him like a puppet, like he clearly has. He wants Pete Hegseth to constantly be thinking about how he can appease his cult leader in Donald Trump. And that is on every issue, including, of course, the war in Ukraine, which Pete Hegseth was asked about and just made a fool of himself as he said what is unthinkable about our allies.
The Ukraine Defense Contact Group. Mr. Secretary, why not use the already appropriated Presidential Drawdown Authority to deliver defense material badly needed by Ukraine?
Well, Senator, as you know, the Presidential Drawdown Authorities 71 through 74 still apply, and they are still flowing. There's some in reserve. To your question about my statement, and I served with a lot of NATO allies in Afghanistan as well. Incredibly capable Canadians, Brits, and Australians, and others. And grateful for them, and I've gotten to know a lot of them in this process going to Brussels. Amazing people, amazing countries.
Thus, I was struck, Mr. Secretary.
But we also wore a patch on our shoulder.
Yes.
That said ISAF, International Security Assistance Force. And you know what the joke was? That it stood for I Saw Americans Fighting. Because what ultimately was a lot of flags, was not a lot of on-the-ground capability. You're not a real coalition, you're not a real alliance, unless you have real defense capability and real armies that can bring those to bear. And that's a reality that Europe is waking up to quickly, and we're glad, because they're our friends, and we want them to be safe and free and secure. And sometimes that takes true talk and tough love, and they've responded very well to that because we want them to succeed. And
Mr. Secretary, let's just make clear for the record that our military partners in Afghanistan included many who served and died. Our Danish partners and allies on a per capita basis.
Don't try to make it look like I don't care about the investments of our partners. Of course I do.
Mr.
I recognize
Secretary,
that there were lives lost from other countries.
Of course
the bulk of the effort was Americans, and an alliance needs to include other countries and be more balanced.
Mr. Secretary,
to be a real alliance.
As I pointed out in my opening comments, our partners and allies have stepped up, have invested, have engaged in the defense of Ukraine, and so should we. We should not be pursuing a ceasefire and a negotiated resolution to the war in Ukraine at any cost. Peace through strength means actually using our strength, continuing to support Ukraine, and securing a lasting peace. Putin will only stop when we stop him. And the best way to stop him is indeed through a stronger NATO. I look forward to the NATO summit. I agree with you that a significant investment by NATO in our collective security is a great investment, but we cannot abandon Ukraine. That would put us significantly at a strategic disadvantage.
Pete Hegseth must be like Donald Trump, and the way that he is unfamiliar with the military history of the allies of the United States, the men and women of European nations who have fought and died to protect our freedoms. But Pete Hegseth clearly isn't caught up on any of that. Not a surprise. He's not a smart guy. I think he was probably spending most of his time put back the old G and T's. And it seems like he did before this hearing, because it was an absolute disaster. But we have to continue to call him out, because Pete Hegseth will be on the Hill again tomorrow. Better believe we're not going to stop covering Pete Hegseth incompetence. And if you want to stick around for all that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.